Hello, my name's Max Drake. I'd like to talk to you about hosting your own code and a website as such. Now, this exercise here is using GitHub. So I was doing something where I'd created this one here. In fact, I've only just updated it a couple of minutes ago. So I've updated it. I've copied the code from my Excel file after I've done the web scrape onto that. I put it into Visual Code. I've now gone into the Visual Code. I've just hit open with Live Server, checked it out that it's actually updated, that I've got today's date on it, and that all of my tables and everything are doing. That actually just failed last time because there was a couple of asterisks in the numbers and it was looking for a number and it errored out. So now I know that it's okay. Initially, what I was doing was going and getting this file and going and copying it onto my virtual VPS, so virtual private server, and putting the file onto there. And I thought, well, why not do GitHub? So GitHub actually lets you do your own web hosting on it. So you can web host static pages, which really means a static page is you've got some HTML and some JavaScript and CSS, and it does that. If you're linked to a database, which is if you've got something like a WordPress site, then you can't do that. Now, I have done a video on this, and there's a place called Award Space. I think this is in Europe. I think it's in Germany. And there is free hosting. You can actually get a free site for free for as long as you want, which is just one domain. And they can even give you a really weird domain name, but you can actually host a WordPress thing, and you can actually have the database in behind, and they make a thing. And you can get email addresses off the thing as well. I think you're only allowed one email addresses. If you actually want the previous a premium service where shared hosting that you get, some of them are sort of like $2.99 a month. Initially, they were giving these things out as something like $1.99 US per year. And they would give you 5 websites. I thought that was quite cool. But anyway, they've got good stuff on here, and I thought they were absolutely brilliant. But they do have the free hosting one, by the look of it, that they've still got. So that's another way to do it, and that's a more sophisticated approach. This is just for somebody who's just done a bit of code and they just want to sit it up there and run it. But we're going to go through and do a couple of other steps. So first of all, I'm in my GitHub repository here. I've GitHub, and I'm going to go into the repository, and I'm going to make a new one. And I'm just going to call it 123, and it's got to be public if you want to host it. You can't host it if it's private, or the other alternative that you've got is that you do a paid GitHub plan. Now I'm going to initialize this repository with a README file, just because then I can actually open up the thing. Otherwise I've got to pull the data in from outside. So now I've got that, I can create a new file, and I'm going to create this file, and I'm just going to call this index.html. And inside there, I'm actually just going to take my code from that one there of my map and just copy and where is it? And paste it into here. So I've now pasted that code, and I'm just going to do a new commit uploaded file. And I'm just going to commit that new file there. So I've now got this new repository there. Now I come across into settings, and I go into settings, and I come down to GitHub. Whoops, there it goes. GitHub pages, and the source of the GitHub page, it asks you which branch you're using. So we're going to use the master branch because there's only one branch there through that point in time. Now it's just popped all the way out. Now what it's actually done is it's given us a link. Your site will be published here. Now, if you'd actually set this up as, and now you can also see inside here, it's enforced HTTPS. So that means it's a secure site. Now, if you'd actually made it private, you can actually come down here into this danger zone and switch that over and make it public. So if you actually have a repository that you've got with some information, that's the way to do it. So the next thing that we're going to look through is the custom domain. But let's just first kick this up here. So I'm just going to right hand click onto there and click on that, and it's going to open up, and woohoo, there's my web page. So it's inside my Git repository, and I have a link to that, so I can share that link with anybody in the rest of the world, and they can actually just come onto that page. Now, that doesn't look particularly pretty. Now, it's an HTTPS, so it's a secure site that the padlock's working. It's my GitHub name. Oops, bugger. I'm just going to go back to there and just undo that. Wherever it is. I'll just fire it out from there again, sorry. It's my name, then it's got, there we are. And then it's GitHub, it's .github.io, and then it's actually gone into the path, into the path of which repository it's actually in. So I've got such a website of all of my things with all of the GitHub things that I've got. And inside that, I've got a directory of which this is the repo 123. And it's going and looking into there and finding this particular file. So if you actually had things, you could link to other files and about page and all the rest, etc., etc., etc. So you can do that sort of stuff. So if you create a React app, you could actually get that running on here because that would compile and build it. So at that point in time, we actually have this. And apparently, if you're doing a repo, somebody was saying to me, or I was watching somebody else's video actually, if I just come back into here, apparently it's good manners to go into the top area here, above the clone or download, and say test website, and you put in the website link through there and go save. So anybody coming in and look in the repository, they can go straight and actually have a look at that web page, boom, straight away. So that's very nice. So the next part of the step is inside the settings is getting a domain. So your own unique domain that you can put down here. Now, you can go to this place here called Freenom, where you can actually go and get your own domain name. Now, there are places, if you go and buy a domain name, a .com or something like that, a Freddy.com, it will cost you between 10 and 15 US normally or something like that. Now, when you're coming and looking on this site for a domain name, if you have a short domain name or a popular name like, let's just say COVID, because it happens to be very fashionable about at this point in time, and you check availability, it's actually going to say it's not available at all, and then but it will actually go and check and see if you can actually get it in any of these other ones, and these are roughly the charges that they will do if they can find them in these configurations when you go through and do a search on this. Now, if we just go through and do 1, 2, 3, so that's a very easy name to remember. You can get those, but then you've actually got to pay for them. So those are the ones that are helping to fund the free sites that have come through. But if you have a longer name, and the one there, that map's got to do with COVID, so I can actually say it's NZ-COVID. So it's a bit of an odd little moniker. If I now check on that, you'll see that these are available. And in fact, I've already selected one. So I can actually get NZ-COVID .tk or .ml. TK is for Tukalau, and I think ML is for Malawi or somewhere like that. So these are countries, are small countries that are letting their domain names go, and any money that they get, this is run by a Dutch company, they will get shared out some of the money from doing this because setting up this infrastructure may be too expensive for them. So inside here, I can do the checkout. Now, I'm not going to be able to check this out because I've got too many domain names and they don't like me. Now, it asks you if you want to do something with your domain name here. You don't. The other thing here, it normally comes through, as soon as you come through, it actually has this set for 3 months. But if you come down, you can set it down for 12 months. Now, another thing I just want to tag with you with this is that you can only renew it in the last 2 weeks before it expires. So you've got to put the date in your calendar because they don't tell you. And then if it expires and you want it back, you've then got to pay for it. So it's a little bit sneaky, but it's up to you to actually be ordered on that sort of thing there. So if we just continue through from there, so we found the domain name and we selected that one there that we're going to look for. And if we continue on that, now what's wrong with it? I just do a refresh. It may go sulky on me. And it's just continue. Now it's jumped back to the 3 months there, you see. So you've got to watch out on these ones. And I am logged in, but some things. No, it should actually just let me think. Anyway, what actually happens is you come into a list of where you can actually go in and get your own domain names. Now, what happens there is that you've got to set up some forwarding things. Oh, here we go. Something's happened there. Oh no, it's woken up there. So it's not going to. I'll do that. I have agreed, and I'll do this, but I don't think I've got this little roadblock through here. So I don't think it's not going to let me because it's a bit miffed with me. I've got about 14 domain names, so we're just going to go over to my domain area. And I've got a few too many, and the thing is with this, if they're not live, any of these ones aren't live, they either take them away from you or they penalise you for actually having dead sites on there. So I think I've got a couple of dead sites on these ones. These were giving me trouble. Anyway, when you come through, you've got to tell this. So these addresses are like house addresses or something like that. We'll actually look at this one here. No, we won't look at that one. We're going to look at this one here. Because this is one that I'm looking to convert. Now, in the first stage of what you can actually do is you link through and you create a type A, two type A's, and go to this 192.30.252.153, and this is in the meta on GitHub, which actually tells you what address you've got to put for your IP address for your pages. So you put them in your meta, and the other thing that you do in your meta is you put in your GitHub name, .github.io, but you don't put the /123. It doesn't like that at all. It's got to be into the root directory of the domain site through there. So that says here's this address, and this one's got to have, for the C name, it's got to have a www or something on there, otherwise it just goes sulky. Now TTL, I put this down at 600. Normally it sort of comes in automatically at 3600 or maybe 14400 or something like that, and that's time to live. What happens here is this is an address that redirects. So somebody coming through and they say, oh, this is where TK lives, so we'll come to your site here and look for you. And he said, no, he's not here anymore. We've got to move to him, his DNS, over to this site. So go and look over to here. So this is basically a redirect. But what there is, there's lots of servers around the world that hold this data. So this DNS data has to propagate around all of the servers through the world. So sometimes it can take hours, sometimes it can take days, and sometimes it can actually take a week or more. So this is where you want to bring this TTL down to as short as what you can so that it tries and propagates very, very quickly. So that's one point of the thing that we've got to do there. So once we've got this, so this is really just saying when you come in and look for this address here, go over here, so that the next time, once it's actually up on the server, as soon as it goes up onto a server for an address server, it says, oh, go off to GitHub. So it goes off to GitHub, and it's gone off to GitHub, and it's found my address there. So if I come back into these options here, and I'm just going to use this as an example, and I put www.creative.cf in there, and go save, it might go funny on me. It will change this to that domain name. And then, so there it's updated. And then if we come back down again, it now says you've got to go here. In fact, I'm going to ignore this one and just take that away and save that, because I want to come up to another directory where I've already got those settings through there. It's just I don't want to set up another one. So if I just come back to my repositories and I go into this one here, I have gone and go into settings there. I've gone through and done one called www.drax.co. So it actually now says, oh no, it's sulking on that one. It shouldn't be sulking, but it's good anyway. But it actually says that. I'm going to go to a third and see if that's actually working. So go back to there, go back to the repositories, and the other one that I want to go to is this test web here, because I think that one is still propagating at this point in time. And if we come into here, this one here has got www member. Oh, isn't that interesting? Member.cf. So if I right hand click here, so now I've got my own domain name. Now that could have been Bozo the Clown or something like that. So when I come through and look at that, now the original one here, now when I come through to this, you'll see that it isn't a secure site. It's actually an HTTP. It's not an HTTPS. So we've gone from having the original GitHub address with a very long number to it to something which is a bit more unique as far as the name that we actually want to associate with it, but it's not secure. So we can go an extra step through here, and we can go through and use a service that I've actually got a thing called Cloudflare. Now if I just go, I'm just going to close out of that completely and go into here and just go Cloudflare, because I just want to explain what this is as well. This is a cool thing. So Cloudflare is providing a content delivery network service. Now, when you actually serve up your website, somebody comes and then they make a request to pull down your web service. So it's pulling down your HTML file and all of your other files. And if you've got images and stuff, and you see a lot of web pages and they have lots and lots of big images and stuff. So those are big files. So it's got to pull all of those files down before it can render it on the browser. So sometimes pulling the files down, like if I wanted to pull files down from a place in the States, I'm in New Zealand, or a place in Africa, or a place in China or Russia or something like that, I've actually it's got to go all the way across to that server, pull all of that information across to my computer. So that's taking a long time, especially if they're big files, you've got some lavish thing. So what this content delivery network service does is it takes a cache. It takes a picture of all of your pages that you're going to render on your thing, and it holds them in servers around the world. Now, they've got 4 or 5 servers on the west coast and east coast of the States. They've got them through Asia. They've got them over in Europe. They've got them in Russia and stuff like that. So your content, your web pages are all sitting there, all the heavy stuff like the images or videos or any of those big files that somebody's going to have to pull down, which is going to slow your website down. So it means that when they call it, they're not calling all the way to New Zealand to come and pull my file down. They're doing it there. And the way, at the same time as it does this content delivery, it also does it does a secure website for you as well, and it's a free service. So if we just go into, I'm just going to log in for myself here, and all of my websites are actually on here, because I find it's quite handy to do. So a lot of my websites are all come through here, and I've got them. So at this point in time, this one that I just did for my thing through here, this members one is unpadlocked, but I've actually got another one, and that was the original one, which has got the HTTP drakemax.github, got 1, 2, 3, and I've got a third one here, which is just Drax, and let's just try that one. And that one is actually an HTTPS address. So that one here I've set up into here. Now what you've got to do, and it's great that one isn't there at the moment, if I come into the overview, at the beginning you can add a site here. So you add a site there and you enter your site thing, and you do it there. And in fact, I've got a feeling that I've cocked up here. Yes, I have. And I've got to come back to that one, because I might have to delete that site, because in fact it calls it the plural when in fact it's a singular. So it shouldn't actually be trying to load the thing along. So if we go across to the DNS, we actually find we should actually have it as the root as DNS management for that. And then we're going to add a record, and we're going to say it's an and then we're going to say the 2 IP addresses that we're getting them are the ones that we actually had in here. So I've got to just grab that one and put that in there. So that's why it actually didn't populate, because it got it wrong. So I'm just going to copy that again, and I'm going to add another record, and it's going to be an A. Oh, what happened to there? And it's going to be, add a record. and it's going to be an A, and the IP address is 154, and we've got to add in another record, so we're going to save that one, and we've got to add in another record which is a CNAME, and the CNAME is the, I think it's asking for the root there, so I think that's the actual target, and we just do an @ on that one there and see if that works. And so we're going to delete that one, delete, and we're going to save that one and see if that works. So I've got a CNAME now saying, so we've, no, I want to member. No, it's trying to, it's got to, I've actually got to blow this one away. I don't know how I blow that away and redo it again. So at the moment, once I've done that, so that is another redirect. So it comes into the freenom where it actually goes to the day name. That's actually redirecting it to the other one. But what it says in the overview is that you've got to change your registration, that instead of going and looking in GitHub, what we now actually have to do, is to come into here, and instead of doing the domain, what we've got to do is we've got to change the namespaces. So all it says is go to these servers, don't go to this one. So these ones, if we come into the management stuff, these are the name servers. So this name is associated with the user default name servers, but we're going to change the name servers. So we say, instead of looking for these servers, which are all the freenom ones, go to these ones. Go and see Ada. Bugger. Copy there. And so we're going to, so I'm going to take it from there and put it into there, and then go and see Ada, and I think this one starts with D for Derek, and we're going to go and do those. So what we're saying is, don't go and look at freenom, come and look in Cloudflare first. So because they're coming up into the network, it's a lot quicker that they can do it. So it ends up being a lot faster, is that they don't do all these round routes. It comes to here and it says, aha, now I know what's associated with this, and what's associated with this is in fact my GitHub page. So the other thing that actually happens when I was watching another video on how to do this is inside those ones there, we've got to go into page rules, and in the page rules we've got to, I've just got to go back there. In that page rules there, we've got to choose the appropriate website that we're going to, and in this one, although it's wrong, we're going to go to the members, this one here, and we're going to create a page rule. And what the page rule is, it's not going to work out quite right here. The page rule is going to be HTTP. If you go to that site there, and it's got to be star, so it means anything, so that's a wildcard. And if it's, I think it was, what is it, member? And I think it's got it wrong, so it's got CF/ star again, so any subfolders inside there or any files inside as well. Then in this one here we can actually have always CSS, because we can actually check that one on if we do the drag stop, that one there. So in that one, that is the script that we've got to get in there. If you see an HTTP or the star in there, that means it could be a www. Tracked one, so that's why it's actually got the star in there, because it can have multiple pre-things. And also, if you actually have a subdomain, a lot of the subdomains slash before the main name of the project, so you'll see that as well. And it just says always use HTTPS. So what we're saying is they're forcing HTTPS onto that domain name there. So we've just got that safe. So boom, that happens there. So now if I go back onto that one here, and I'm just going to use the Drax one here and just wallop that one. You'll see now that is actually a secure site. So we've taken a free domain. This is the thing. If you go to GoDaddy or somewhere like that, they'll actually make sure that the names are HTTPS, so they're secure. This is a way of doing it where it doesn't actually cost you any money at all. So you can go and play with a few different domain names and get a feel for something, because if you're just exploring all the stuff, you may not know exactly what you want to do. I do have a video on setting up a base website using the award space features there with their one, and that's actually got a WordPress one, so that is a dynamic website from the point of view that it's pulling information from a database at the back, and doing a WordPress site takes about 5 minutes to set up, so that's quite handy to do. It's just not that extensible. That after you do that, you do this one here as a simple website as well, and from there you'd go to a VPS, a virtual private server, which is basically you're running an equivalent of your computer on a server somewhere, so it's run live all the time, so you load up any programs that you want on there. A lot of these other ones, they only give you certain choices that you want. They can say, well, you can have this, you can have a WordPress, or you can have a Joomla, or you can have something or other, and that's all you can have. Whereas with a virtual private server, you've basically got you can put on there whatever junk you want, really. So I'll give a link. This CDN Content Delivery Network, I did a post on that one. I did a video on how to set up the WordPress one. I might actually have to review that because it was done back in 2008, and I'll give a link to the WordPress site, and I'll give a link to the Freenom and to the Cloudflare one. You'll get the link for that. So a little bit scrappy, but what I was trying to do, just from a different point of view, if you just want a simple website, just use the ones that you're given with GitHub. And GitHub's worth getting your head around because it's really useful for transferring your information through. One other proviso that I actually do want to say with this. One of the reasons why it can be so damn fast of this is it uploads the images, so it holds those information in cache. So if I come to my creative, which is my blog site, and I've got 300 pages of stuff through there, it gives you some data on here of some analytics. So it actually gives you a web page stuff. It's Google Analytics you can get for free and put it on your website. This one gives you an indication of who's been pulling out, where your data's been pulled in the last 24 hours, the last week, and the last month. And then they say, because they're pulling it from their servers rather than pulling it from yours, you've saved this amount of bytes that stream through from your thingamabob, and there's been this many requests for information to my website in that particular period, which was last month, and this a number of attacks blocked. So in fact, there's a whole lot of things that it's actually done for you, and you can do it as there is a free service with that sort of thing. So you see it's failing on that one there, and this is the site because it's got the wrong name. That one there, I don't know how to delete it actually. So I'll worry about that now. So I hope that's been of interest to you. It's really just starting off, and it was a follow-on in some way from the VS Code when you're doing the code, and inside code itself it's got this GitHub that you can push and pull through there, although I actually find just doing it on the command line is a hell of a lot quicker than doing it the other way. But there's videos out there on using VS Code to actually transfer your information through. So what you've done is done some coding through here, you've checked your coding, you've seen it's correct, you've used a live server that you can actually open up and view your actual file to check to see that it's actually what you want. You can help build your things and do that sort of stuff. You can then push it onto GitHub. You can then host it onto GitHub as a web page. You can then share it with all your friends or anybody else you want. It hasn't cost you a penny from the point of view of VS Code. Doesn't cost anything at all. You're getting a free domain name and as many as you want from Freenom. You're getting DNS services. It means that it's propagating your site all the way around the world. Doesn't necessarily mean that people are looking for it, but with you've got good articles, that's what tends to make things happen through there. And you've got GitHub as well, which is free. So anyway, I hope that's been of interest for you. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like it, can you give me a thumbs up? Thank you very much.